Hello, how's it going, friends? Well, welcome. Today we're here with a very special video because we've acquired the new plugin from definitionofhardtechno released by O.B.I and Noise Not War, who are truly two of the fathers of the hard techno scene we have today. O.B.I has a cleaner and more analog sound, while Noise Not War is a bit dirtier with some brighter highs. And in this case, what we are bringing you today is Pressure, which is an all-in-one tool designed for percussion and especially for those hard techno kicks. We can also use it in those same instances we're about to see on our synths or our bass lines to add more texture. It's specifically designed for percussion, and we'll see why in a moment. The main goal of this processor is going to be adding saturation, distortion, compression, and then it gives us a small clipping module at the end. The genres it's designed for are mainly Schranz, hard techno, industrial, and maybe a little bit of raw. I've prepared 3 examples that we were working on the other day when we installed it with the Patreon members. A raw kick, a sort of industrial botchka kick, and another heavy Schranz kick. The plugin is currently available on their official website for a price of $29.99. Take advantage while it's on sale because the price will go up. So without further ado, let's see how it performs. So we have our Ableton project right here. Let's start with the Schranz kick and hear how it sounds. The first thing we'll find as soon as we open it is that we can distinguish 4 parts. At the very top of the interface, you will find the saturation and distortion module. Moving down, we then encounter the compression module, the transient shaper module, and the output module, including a low-cut filter, and an output gain with hard clipping. So now we're going to see what each of these little things does. At the very top, we have the selector for the types of distortion. They've included 4 types of distortion: soft clipping, hard clipping, wave shaping, and bit reduction. Each of these distortion types has up to 14 operating modes, ranging from softer to more intense. Try them all out and switch between them to see exactly which one works for you in every case or for whatever goal we have. For example, the default one I think is the radiator, and it would mimic the radiator from Soundtoys, which is also a very popular and frequently utilized distortion and saturation module. How are we going to use it? Well, look, we have the drive engine up here, which is likely soft clipping, industrial burn, which is likely hard clipping, and then we have wave shaping. What does each of these types of distortion do? Well, briefly explained, hard clipping and soft clipping, we are going to square off the wave. If we have a sine wave, we're going to hear how each of these different distortion modules would affect a sine wave. Make sure to keep a close eye on the analyzers. We'll start with the excite off, the blue body off, the glue off, and then let's take a listen. First, the radiator heat. This would be soft clipping, then we'd have crunch, which would be hard. Here we see the wave starting to turn into a square, becoming completely rectangular. The friction zone, it's starting to be wave shaping. If you notice, wave shaping works by having 2 axes. On the horizontal axis, we'll have one signal line, and on the vertical axis, the other. And as we modify it, we're making the wave start to add more complex frequencies. If we look at the isotope with trash loaded, we put it in serum and look at what happens, at how the wave starts to change as I move forward and make adjustments to it. By doing it this way, we'd be introducing some saturation. And if we move the slider to the left, we'd be adding hard clipping. Would cause the incoming wave to begin to be significantly modified by these curves we're introducing into the system, and we generate more distortion. Overkill also seems to be wave shaping. And then finally, what we are going to have here is the bit reduction part, toxic bloom as well as the corrupter. What is this doing? Well, from each sample the digital signal takes, it starts to reduce the amount of zeros and ones that each of the samples includes, and it starts to distort. Applied to how we hear it, well, it becomes 8-bit basically. And the wave gets more and more square. Now let's listen to the Schranz case as we've configured it. Let's see it. Once we distort it, we'd adjust the amount of distortion we want with the amount knob. Careful, because it controls both the crash dry wet and the excite dry wet. So we're going to control both parameters with this same amount. What does excite do? Well, it pushes a little bit the volume of the harmonics the sound already has, and crash distorts those same harmonics even more. So it would be as if we had a soft distortion and a more intense distortion within the same parameter. With excite, we add a little more presence to the sound we already have. And with crash, we are going to manage to break it and distort it in a way that sounds good. And more or less around there, we'd have the distortion sound. Then what we're going to have is the glue module. This process is going to allow us to effectively compress the kick and all the layers we've included, in this case 3 layers, so they blend together seamlessly. And instantly, the initial punch and the driven loop along with the rumble start to unify into a single cohesive sound. In this case, we only have one dry wet for it to work in parallel. More or less around there. And finally, we're going to have the body button on its right. What does this allow? This plugin is a transient shaper. What it allows us to do is precisely adjust and control the amount of release that we actually allow to pass through the transient shaper. So the transient shaper, what it does is generate more impacts every time there's a hit or a transient within the plugin system detection. Meaning that when our kick drum hits, this detects it, and it's going to allow us to let more of the hit's tail through or less of the hit's tail. This will translate into the sound having more punch or the volume starting to go up, particularly when it comes to the tail and the driven loop look, like this with more driven loops. And like this, smaller and shorter and with more punch for each of the elements. In the case of Schranz, well, we're interested in that background noise from the driven loop starting to blend with the punch, so normally we're going to try to turn it up a bit. Now we're going to see in the other example that we've put it the other way because we needed more punch. On its right, we're going to find the last module now, which would be the output 1, in case we want to create a low-cut filter. For example, if we're applying some heavy distortion, instead of the whole kick group, but specifically just the punch or just the rumble, and we want to cut those frequencies, they provide us with the specific option to activate the linear phase mode, so that if we make a cut, there are no phase issues, and the wave we originally had is respected. Why could there be phase issues? Because basically when we load an equalizer that isn't linear phase at the frequency where the cut is made, a polarity inversion occurs, and the wave flips right at the frequency where we're making that cut. So the linear equalization mode allows us to make low cuts without having that problem of the phase being inverted where the cut is. It's going to be a bit cleaner, although sometimes it usually consumes a bit more CPU. And finally, we'd have a hard clipper, which in this case we turn on to be able to shave off the whole signal, and an output of up to 6 decibels afterwards. Since it's only 6 decibels, what I've thought of is turning off this clipper and then using mine, the one from Sir Audio. So that way I can control the amount of volume or saturation I'm adding with this clipper a bit better. Look here at the analyzer. Let's listen to the other 2 examples and see how we've configured them. In this case, we'll use the raw one, and then let's go ahead and set it up again. Look, what have we done? First, we add the crash. And this time, we've put it in friction zone mode, which is like a hard clip, but not too aggressive. With the excite, we restore that sound back a significant amount of presence, so that its frequencies have a little more audible volume. And then we give it a little glue, so that those elements, as we said, blend together. One thing I haven't mentioned is that it lets us place the transient shaper before or after the distortion. In this case, we're going to set it up before the distortion, and we'll configure the settings so that it first provides a bit more punch and transient, boosts the release volume, and then distorts it. And it really seems like the punchy reverb effect starts to get significantly louder now. Oh, just check it out. So hard. Honestly, the plugin sounds incredible. Congratulations, you've done a spectacular job. And finally, let's see how we'd set up that vodka kick we mentioned. We have it right here. Let's try the industrial born one. Because we are aiming for a more aggressive sound, we'll leave the distortion at the full 100%. I'm going to completely deactivate the hard clipping and add my own clipper. Let's try putting a pre-distortion as well. With the glue, we'd bind the punch and the tail in this case. More Boschka and this way more industrial. Let's maybe try to turn down the rumble just a little bit. Notice the way the release would gradually rise with the body, and we'd provide a bit more extra volume to the tail of the kick. Well, honestly, I'm very happy with this plugin. The guys at Definition of Hardtechno have done a spectacular job, and I really hope that with this video, well, I've encouraged you a bit to buy it. It hasn't been sponsored at all. I'm doing this because I truly think they deserve it, and they deserve to have someone explain the tool they've created in a proper way. So if this video has helped you, I invite you to share it with your friends who also make a bit of Schranz, who make industrial, who you think this could be good for this tool, which is also very affordable and of high quality. And I invite you to the class we have every Friday, reviewing and creating kicks like these using tools and learning theory every single Friday from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. on Patreon through our Discord. So join our community group. Don't miss out on the fun. And if you liked it, subscribe, hit the bell, and send it to all your close buddies. A big hug. Thank you very much. I'm Antic, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.